Hey everybody, I just wanted to come on and talk. I'm getting ready to go to work, and I probably got about 15 minutes before I have to clock in, and grief is just hitting in right now. I'm just in tears this morning, just thinking about all the loved ones I lost. All of the loved ones people close to me are losing. You know, um, I know. My brother, he just lost his grandfather, and I know he did a video on that about, having to sing at the funeral and, pushing through the grief, you know, and still trying to minister with all those emotions that you're facing with your loved one. My aunt, and she just had a big loss this past week, which the person that passed, they were really close to us too. So, that's just hitting hard. And all of the loved ones that, my family has lost, it's just all really taking a toll. And it just all comes, it just all comes at one time. You start thinking about one person, it kind of trickles down to everybody, and then just everything just explodes in your mind. And it just has me emotional. But this is just really hard to try to, in these moments of grief and you're thinking about your loved ones, life is still happening. You still have to, try to just fix it and move on, and still clock into work because, reality is here, and, we have to do what we have to do. But, it's just, it's very hard, for me. I try to be strong too for a lot of people. But it gets hard too, sometimes because, you're trying to be strong for everybody else, and then you're also trying to be strong for yourself. And then, then the people that are, all of those messages that my family sends out, checking on the family, I truly appreciate that, because sometimes we may not say it. Everybody's dealing with grief in their own way. I could just be driving and it just hits me randomly, or, whatever. I just start crying in tears, And like today, I'm just in tears and having to get ready to clock in for work. So that kind of really makes things really hard for me. Um, you know, my my mom did a video too about grief and just pushing through it, trying to stay strong. And, in the moment, it's okay not to be strong in that moment, but because everybody has to get it out the way they need to get it out. But, once you get through that first initial hurdle, just try to stay strong, and keep pushing, and, and one thing that kind of helps me is just really listening to like the worship music and things like that to get through it. So that's what I'm gonna do today. Like I said, I got about 15 minutes before I have to clock in for work, and my job requires me to talk to a lot of people. So of course, they want you to come in happy, energetic, and exciting. But in moments like this, it's very hard to, and I just, with so many losses happening, I really don't have any more words. It's just, I'm just praying for everybody, praying for myself, praying for our family. With my case, it's just, I lost my aunt this year. Um, the year before that was one of my uncles. I think a year and a half or a year before that was another uncle. Then it was like the year before that was my dad, and it doesn't matter how close the person was to you. It still is a loss. It's still that void there. So, one thing I'm gonna do this morning to try to get me out of a slump, with the grief is I'm gonna just listen to some of the worship songs and worship, um, to try to get out of this. So I was gonna invite y'all to really check out the songs and stuff like that with me. So I'm gonna listen to the "I Trust in God" cover that Anthony Chase did as well. And then I'm gonna get ready to clock into work and see if I can get out of this slump right now, because I know my family wouldn't want us sitting here just crying. They would want us to keep smiling, keep going, keep pushing. I do believe that. But like, you know, like my mom said too, I think, you just have to cry in that moment to get it out. That's just the way you're expressing yourself. So, it's just very hard. So we're going to get started. I'm going to listen to I Trust in God. And this is actually a cover Anthony Chase did. And he sung this at my aunt's funeral. So it's such an amazing song. But, now, it just tied to that. It means that much more to me. So, and like my mom did a video, she shared the video of him singing at the funeral. So maybe I'll come on and do that as well. All right, we're gonna listen to I Trust in God, Anthony Chase music video.
Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. He's been my fourth man in the fire, time after time. Born of His Spirit and washed in His blood. And what He did for me on Calvary is more than enough. So I trust in God, my Savior, the one who will never fail. You will never fail. So I trust in God, my Savior, the one who will never fail. You will never fail. Perfect submission, all is at rest, 'cause I know the author of tomorrow, He's ordered my steps. So this is my story, this is my song, praising my risen King and Savior all the day long. So I trust in God, yeah. Oh God, You're the one who will never fail. You will never fail. No, You won't. If you believe that He'll never fail you, and if that's your testimony, I dare you to lift it up where you are. No, You're the Savior, yes You are. No, yeah. Oh, You will never fail. You will never fail. You always come through. You never fail me then. You won't fail me now. You'll always keep Your promises, promises, promises. I sought the Lord, and He heard, and He answered. I sought the Lord, and He heard, and He answered. I sought the Lord, and He heard, and He answered. That's why I trust Him. That's why I trust Him. I sought You, God, and He heard, and He answered. I sought the Lord, and He heard, and He answered. I sought the Lord, and He answered. That's why I trust Him. Yes, you did. Turn that thing around. You placed my feet on solid ground. You came through for me. I owe you my life. You never fail. You're proving yourself over and over, over and over and over again. Time after time, day after day. That's why I trust you.
Y'all, that song just gets me every time, because just during that thinking about it, it just really just lets me know that I have to trust in God and just put it all in his hands. I know, especially with my aunt, she was just so close to us, and she was just supportive. She was just in everything. She was so strong. She was a fighter. I mean, she was a prayer warrior. I mean, it just really, just listening to that song just really, it reminds me that, it's all in God's, plan, in his hands, and it's all a part of his plan. But, we do still miss her. I know that she's not in pain no more, because when I tell you, she fought and prayed her way through, and didn't complain about it. It just really gets me on that, and I know she's in a better place. I know she's in a better place. I know it. But we do still miss her. It's still hard. There's moments I want to pick up the phone and just call her and be like, hey, Joyce, how you doing? Or, and then even just going back, from other, like my dad, no matter, like I said, no matter how close, if you wasn't close to the person or not, they were still a part of your family, and it's still like a void there, and a lot of unanswered things that won't ever happen now, so it's just, with my uncles, it's just everything's just tying in, and it creates that spirit of worriness and the spirit of fear and all of that. But one song that Anthony sung at the funeral for my aunt, it was I Trust You by Anthony Brown, and it was just basically saying, you did not create us to fear. And so I try to eliminate that worriness, that spirit of fear out of my life, and just know that the family that's up there with God, they're rooting for us. They're going to him on our behalf and really trying to help us go forward and move forward. And I know they wouldn't want us to sit up here and just be crying and pause on life. They would want us to keep going. So I just wanted to come on and let y'all know that grief happens at any moment. It does. I'm getting late for work now, but it comes at any moment. And, find your way to try to push yourself through it. Find your way to push through it. And me, I love listening to worship music, and, I definitely encourage all of y'all to go check out my brother Anthony Chase music at Anthony Chase Music on all social media platforms on YouTube, because his gift that God has given him, he sung at several of my family members' funeral. He's doing a lot of stuff with the music, and, his gift truly just ministers to me. I always tell him too, I can't wait for the world to know your gift, but, I always tell people, if you reach one person, the job is done. And I think, Anthony's gift has truly ministered to me and my family. It really has, anytime that grief happens or something happens, it could be something exciting too, we'll turn on Anthony and just listen, so, that's just the way that I find a way to cope with everything. So I know people deal with this on a daily, and, 2025 has been a rough year for a lot of people. So just find your way to push through it, and find your outlet that helps you. Mine is listening to worship music and listening to my brother Anthony Chase. Even though I hear him singing on the phone all the time, but sometimes I just have to turn on the music and listen, and it's just like he's ministering to me right then in that moment. So I just wanted to thank him for that. And just know that I'm praying for everybody who's lost somebody, my brother, my aunt, who's dealing with it now, and my brother and his family, and my family, and just everybody out there in the world who's lost someone especially close to you, and even the ones that wasn't that close but still has that small little void in your heart. So I'm gonna get to work, wipe these tears away. I'm gonna get to work, push through it. I know God's gonna get me through this shift, and we're gonna work it out. During my breaks, I'm gonna turn on some more worship music, and we just gonna keep taking this day by day, minute by minute. So I love everybody, praying for everybody, that God will just keep ordering our steps, keep giving us peace, keep giving us the strength to keep moving on, and replace all of that sadness, the worriness, the spirit of fear, anything that's going through your mind when it comes to the death or loss of someone. Just I ask that he replaces it with peace and strength, and help us focus and keep moving forward, and just, take that next step to get over the hurdle, because it's never going to be fully 100%, but it can get better with time, So I love y'all, and I will see y'all later. Peace.